Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast, your go-to source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We hope you tune in often for all things people management, organizational development and change, organizational leadership, and social impact related. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast. Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this Forbes feature HCI podcast episode, I explore the recent Forbes video, Rapinoe on fighting for equality on and off the field. Welcome back to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. It's great to be with you again today for this Forbes feature HCI podcast episode, where I'll be exploring the brief Forbes video, Rapinoe on fighting for equality on and off the field. Rapinoe, co-captain of the United States women's national team, is more than a world-class athlete. She also is an outspoken advocate for a number of issues such as gay rights, equal pay for women, and Black Lives Matter. At the 2020 Forbes Power Women's Summit, Rapinoe discussed the roots of her activism and using her platform to highlight important issues to create meaningful change. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you on the flip side of this first clip.
How does being a world-class athlete and a world-class activist feed each other?
You know, I never really see anything as separate. Just because I, step onto the field and put a jersey on, that doesn't mean I'm not who I am. And just because I, step off the field and take the jersey off doesn't mean I'm not an athlete either. To me, I feel like we need to, use the talents and the skills and the powers that we have to make the world a better place in whatever way we can be most effective. And for me, I was, born with this amazing talent in being an athlete. And so how do I leverage that off of the field? Clearly on the field, I'm trying to, be the best player that I can, and reach my potential. And I think off the field, I'm trying to do that as well. And, unfortunately for female athletes, for women, for gay women, for marginalized people, we aren't always afforded the opportunity or the landscape to reach our potential. Oftentimes there's roadblocks and barriers. And so I feel like as important as it is for me to do everything I can to be the best player, I also feel that it's important for me to do that off of the field. And so if there's a barrier in the way, then I think I just kind of have to bust it down. And then, to extend beyond myself, obviously we live in a country that, loves its sports, certainly loves its American athletes, is probably a little bit too obsessed with celebrity. But how do I leverage all of that for good? I'm finding myself in a position with the microphone or, winning awards or being able to speak to people or having people that are listening to me. So I feel a responsibility to, do what I can with what I have to try to make the world better in whatever way, I'm able to.
I really love her approach. It's all about learning how to maximize our potential. In her case, she's a world-class athlete, and so she wants to maximize her potential on the field. She wants to be the best athlete that she can possibly be and have the best possible outcomes, but she also wants to leverage that to bring about good in other aspects of her life. So she recognizes the mantle that's on her. She recognizes that people look to her. Now, should she have any more authority on issues related to activism, race relations, LGBTQ plus issues, etc., than say a researcher or an organizational leader with expertise in that area? No, but she recognizes the platform that she has, and she's utilizing and leveraging it to the fullest extent. So she's trying to maximize her performance on the field. She's trying to maximize her performance off the field. And I think that's what we all need to do in our own capacities, given our own circumstances, our own talents that we've been given. Some of us are athletes, some of us are musicians, some of us are artists, some of us are natural born leaders, some of us are just wonderful friends who can listen and authentically connect with those around us. We all have our own talents and our own unique abilities, and we need to learn how to best tap into those and leverage them for the benefit of our families, our communities, our organizations, and society as a whole. I think when we think about this from an organizational leadership perspective, it's also important for leaders to help their people uncover that same potential and that kind of capacity. We don't always recognize the potential within us. And so when a really great leader can see the potential in one of their people and then help them to set goals and help them to develop themselves and to grow into their capacities and capabilities, then they're enhancing not only what their team can accomplish and what the organization can accomplish, but they're making a lasting impact in the life of that individual person. And then the ripple effects will be tremendous, because that one individual person will at some point have an opportunity to lead others and can pay it forward, or will have an opportunity to have the public spotlight and to raise awareness on an issue, or to raise children and have a family, or to be a good friend. Like, there's so many different ways that we can make a difference. And it all starts with recognizing that potential. And as leaders, we can help others see that potential within themselves, even when they don't recognize it within themselves. I'm excited to announce the publication of my new book from HCI Press, The Alchemy of Truly Remarkable Leadership: Ordinary, Everyday Actions That Produce Extraordinary Results. Consider how the nature of work has shifted over the past 50 years. With increased globalization, rapid technological advancement, and the shift in economic composition, the average job of today looks very different than the average job of 50 years ago. What will the jobs and organizations of tomorrow look like? Moreover, what does this all mean for organizational leaders? What are the core competencies and capabilities of organizations and their leadership that are prepared for continued disruption and geopolitical and socioeconomic shifts? Regardless of what the future holds, increasingly, leaders need to be socially minded, data-driven, decisive, champions of talent, and disruptors of the traditional notions of leadership, teams, organizations, and work. The Alchemy of Truly Remarkable Leadership will help you to explore your own leadership competencies and capabilities and consider ways to apply and implement them into your workplace and personal life.
Also loves a winner, and you guys have been as successful as any team and kind of in American consciousness over the last decade or so. So I think that probably feeds a lot of it too. Where did this activism drive come from? I mean, you know, in reading your book, which is great, you know, your upbringing, you know, in Redding, California, doesn't really, it wouldn't seem to lead itself naturally to being an activist.
Yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't really, but I think, you know, during the process of writing the book and looking back on it and trying to, you know, unpack how I ended up here and why I am the way that I am, you know, from such a young age, my parents, and my mom specifically, made it very clear to my twin sister Rachel and I that just because you're popular or you're good at sports or whatever, like that doesn't really mean anything. Like, you need to be a good person. There's something more than, you know, just being good at sports or being popular or being that kid in school. Why don't you use that for something good? And actually, it's your responsibility to do that. So I think those sort of early seeds, you know, albeit without the language or the word activist or any of that, we didn't really think about it like that or talk about it like that. I think those seeds were planted early. And then just, you know, growing up, being able to mature on the women's national team around, you know, 24, 25 other elite women, you know, coming out as gay, understanding and trying to understand the world better. And I guess just sort of getting some real life lessons in, you know, pay equity, discrimination, you know, gender equality. It's like, even for LGBTQ plus people, like we've been able to marry each other for 5 years in this country, we're going on 6 years. Like that's nothing. We still have a long way to go. And so I think the more I learn, the more I see and understand it's really all connected. All of these injustices or, inequities and discriminations are sort of all connected. And so how do we leverage, the individual fights that we're all fighting for the sort of greater good of all of us?
I really appreciate her sharing some of her own personal story and the background behind really how she came to be where she was at as a professional and as an activist. We all come from a unique background. We all have a particular family context with norms and values and ways we are socialized. That's typical for every single one of us. And the question is, how does that then inform the direction we take later on in life? And she shares the example of lessons learned from her family, and particularly from her mother, with regards to just being kind, treating other people well. It didn't matter how popular you were. It didn't matter how good of an athlete you were. None of that mattered. What matters is that you treat people well, that you treat them with dignity and respect, and that you look out for people, that you fight for people. So that was a lesson, even in its most basic form, that she internalized really early on in her childhood, and then she took that with her later into life when she found that she had a platform, and now she could help raise awareness and create a dialogue around some of these important issues where she's an activist. And the reality is we all face the same type of situation, both in our personal lives, but also within our organization. And as organizational leaders, it's kind of like we're the parents of our team, and they're kind of like our children. Obviously, that's not a perfect comparison, but we set the norms. We share the values. We try to create a culture and an environment in which people can hopefully thrive. And just like people come from all different walks of life and different backgrounds, different levels of privilege in their background, as well as different levels of disadvantage, when they get to the organization, they also have a different type of career trajectory and path. And some of them may have been very damaged in their career path up to that point. And perhaps being part of our team will be the very first time that they will ever have an opportunity to see a more healthy example and be in a really inclusive environment where there's a true sense of belonging, and where you can support them and fight for them. I wish every organization were like that, just like I wish every home were like that, but that's not the way it is. And so regardless of what your personal origin story is, I think it's important for us all to think back, to reflect upon how we got to where we're at, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then think forward into what would we like to accomplish? How can we move forward in a positive fashion so that we can have the type of impact and the type of outcomes that we're really striving for in our homes, in our communities, and society as a whole, and certainly within our organizations. I know my hope is that I can always have a big impact, that I can positively influence those around me, whether that means you're an activist or you're just a good, effective leader who cares about your people. I think either way, you're going to have the chance to make a difference in the lives of those around you. As always, thank you for joining me for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day, and I hope you have a great week. We are excited about the launch of HCI's new magazine, Human Capital Leadership. Human Capital Leadership is a free, interactive e-magazine designed to help individuals, leaders, and organizations find innovative approaches to maximize their human capital potential. We will be publishing issues quarterly in August, November, February, and May. Check out the first issue and let us know what you think. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe and that you have a great week.